All right, it's the top of the hour. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to our Bluebeam Revu 2019 webinar. Thank you for joining us today. We're excited about these new features and today's presentation. Before we jump into it, I would like to go through logistics. So first of all the lights are muted so that everybody can hear well. I would love you guys to send your questions. They are more than welcome on the chat box. We will be answering them as we go or at the end of the presentation, depending on the content of the question. This webcast is recorded, so you can see it in the future. And just letting you know that we have the Bluebeam Revu training available, and we will gonna talk about that at the end more. Today, our presenter is our Bluebeam Certified Instructor and Technical Specialist, Ari, I forgot your name for a second, Ari Redham. So Ari, with no more delays, take it away.
Thank you, Raquel. Thank you very much. All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our webinar. Really glad to have you all here. This is going to be a little different from the webinar that we had a couple of months ago. We're going to be going over some new features, looking at some other features that we didn't cover before. And at the end, I'll give you guys a little tour of Bluebeam drawings, and we'll explain what that is. Firstly, we'll go into new features, including the 6 times rendering speed increase. It really makes a big difference, and this is why Bluebeam Revu 2019 is really a good update and a great step up. Revu 2019 also includes preset scales. This is going to make calibrating and measuring a lot faster and easier. Of course, we're going to look at customizing our markups and measurements, and we're going to look at something a little different, some different formatting styles that are included in Revu, and I'll show you guys how we can modify our dimensions and make them look exactly the way we want. Our markups list and summary reports will of course be covered. It's a very powerful tool, and I'll show you guys how to do that. And I'll be making an Excel summary report because I know a lot of us are going to be using Excel, and we can take all our data and put it there. Bluebeam Studio projects and sessions is also going to be covered. It's a really great tool that Bluebeam comes with. All versions of Bluebeam have it. And of course, signature stamps, certifications, security and flattening, and so on and so forth. And with that, let's switch into Revu. Let's get started. All right. So I've opened Revu. I have my sample floor plan. You guys might have seen this already in the last webinar. I have all of my fun and specialized tools here, and I've of course placed them in my toolbox. So if you guys aren't familiar, you can make your own custom markups and place them here in the toolbox. It's located right here. But let's start at the beginning. Let's look at a few interface things and let's move on from there. So right now we're looking at the floor plan. Of course, we can navigate and review in a couple of ways. Depending on the sheet that we have, Revu will automatically allow us to either navigate by zooming in and out with our mouse wheel and panning around by clicking and holding and dragging like this. And as you can see, the rendering speed, the fluidity has really improved. There's very little lag when I navigate now. With that, I'm actually going to switch back to the PowerPoint because I want to show you guys a really cool video. Bluebeam provided this awesome video for us. There it is. And as you can see on the left side, Bluebeam Revu 2017 is present, and on the right side is Revu 2019. And you can see that as this user keeps panning and zooming around, the lack of lag on 2019 side is really, really noticeable. So I'm really glad that they improved it, and this will really help us to see the data that we want much faster than usual. All right, so let's go back to Revu and let's look at some things. So that is one of the new features that Revu 2019 comes with. Of course, you can see what version you have by going to Revu and seeing the About tab. And the interface is very similar from 2019 to 2018, so you won't notice too many differences. Let's actually look at one of the other differences. We're going to go to our Measurements tab right here. And here, the Measurements tab has really been upgraded. It's been refined. Now, everything is very concise. We can see everything that we need to. The Calibrate button is there, but right next to it, we have that Preset button right here. And this is where we can find many different common scales that are found within most other programs, and we can, of course, make our own scale. So this is great. Instead of calibrating, we can just set our scale right here, as long as we know it. We can easily apply it to multiple pages, and we can increase the precision of our scale very simply as well. So nice quality of life features, and I'm very glad that they included that because calibrating is nice, but if you don't have a predefined measurement on your drawing, oops, let me switch to this view, then it'll be very difficult to navigate. There we go. So yeah, we have some predefined dimensions here. Of course, we can calibrate and use this dimension to set our scale, but now we don't. So that's one of the other features. And we'll talk about Bluebeam drawings a little later on. I'll show you guys a little snippet of that. All right, so the interface is very similar. As you can see, I'm using my own profile. I went to Review and Profiles. I have my own custom one. It's based off of the Review Advanced profile. And just like I talked about in the previous webinar, Review has a lot of preferences that can dictate whether things are automatic or manual. So here under Preferences, if we go to Tools, we can go back and check this Auto Size Text Box and Callout Markups on. And this will make sure that every time we make a text box, I'll make one now to show you guys, that the box that we make will physically reform its shape depending on the text. There we go. And if I click away, it automatically resized itself. And just like before, let's say I made the box extremely large. I can always go and click on Auto Size Text Box right here. So it's a really great manual tool, and the automatic function is within Preferences. So make sure to navigate through Preferences, set all your preferences the way you'd like, and that way you'll be ready to work fast and efficient. All right, so let's look at a couple of other things. I'm going to show you guys how we synchronize our screens so that we can see multiple screens at the same time. So right now I'm going to split my screen by going down here. This time I'm going to split it horizontally. I split it vertically in the last one. So now I have the same screen twice. Each one is independent, of course. But let's say that I wanted to synchronize my screen so that if I move on one screen, the other one moves with it. Right now I'm going to go to View and Synchronize Page first. And here, when I navigate and move around, the second screen at the bottom also moves with it. So it's quite a useful tool. We're going to go to our thumbnails list, and I'm going to show you guys the difference between Synchronize Page and Synchronize Document. If I switch to another page, you'll notice that Review did not switch the second view's page. However, as I navigate, it still maintains the same XY coordinate system, so the page is still moving with the second page. It can be quite useful if you have different pages that you'd like to synchronize and you don't want Review to automatically change the page. If I go back to View and I go to Synchronize Document, now no matter what page I change to, both pages are being changed all at the same time. So quite a useful set of tools, and that's the difference between them both. Let's close out of our second view. Let's go back to our floor plan. All right. And of course, we can also organize our files. If we go to our File Access tab right here, instead of using the File dropdown, we can organize our files by mousing over them and clicking on this pin right here. And this is where we can now make a new category. We can call this one Group 1. You guys might be familiar with this. I covered it in the last webinar. And this is how we can group our files. So it's a really, really great tool to allow multiple different disciplines to be grouped for certain projects. Let's remove this group. All right, excellent. Let's go straight into some markups and measurements. Let's look and see some of our markups. All we have to do is go to Tools and Markup. You'll also notice that there's a lot of these letters right here that symbolize keyboard shortcuts. So if you guys love to use keyboard shortcuts, you can start to memorize these. And you can also customize your keyboard shortcuts by going to the Review dropdown and clicking on Keyboard Shortcut. And here you can see them, and you can modify them to whatever you'd like. All right, as you know, we can make pen and highlight tools. The text box is a very common one. The note tool allows us to have multiple different pages upon essays of data in one thing. The line and arrow tools are there. Review still is the only PDF tool or the PDF software that can create arcs. So it's really nice to know that they put some effort into that. And of course, my favorite tool, which I love to show, is the Cloud Plus tool. This will save you guys a lot of time. Instead of making a revision cloud and then making a symbol such as a triangle with a revision number in it, now you can combine it all in one markup. Excellent. Now, of course, this isn't exactly what you'd like, the formatting will go into, but we can go to our properties here and we can modify that formatting. There's so many different options here. All right, good, good, good. And I might have covered this already, but I want to show you guys the difference between flattening a markup by right-clicking and the flatten dialog. Right now, I can click on this markup, this area markup, and I can right-click and flatten it. The issue with this is when I flatten this markup, and let's say that I was finished working, I saved, I closed out of Review, and that was it. If I open the file again, this markup will forever be flattened in this area. The only way to undo it would be to actually make a white box over it and mask it. So It's very, very hard to undo a flatten, or it's actually impossible to undo a flatten when you flatten in this method. Instead, I'm going to show you guys the flatten dialog. First, I'm going to go to edit and undo. Now my area is back and I can select it again. The flatten dialog can be found under the document dropdown, and flatten is right here. This dialog is excellent. Here we can choose which markups are going to be flattened. We have many different options, so we can only flatten our images if we wanted to, just like that. This box is great for selecting and deselecting. You might have seen it in other programs. And this option right here, allow markup recovery. This is the key. If you allow it, then you can always unflatten your markups if you have to. But if you have a submittal and you don't want anybody to make any changes to it, you don't want to allow markup recovery, and that way your flattening is permanent. And now you know that your sheet can't be modified. All right, great. So we've gotten that out of the way. Excellent. Let's look at our tool chest again. I want to demonstrate the power of the tool chest and show you guys what it can do. There's actually a couple of ways that we can use our favorite tools in the tool chest. Of course, to add a tool to the tool chest, all you need to do is click on the markup on the sheet, right click, add to tool chest is right here, and we can choose which tool set we'd like to place it in. Once it's here, we have a couple of ways of using it. Right now, you can see that the icons in my tool chest seem a bit generic. If I was to double click on them, it's a little hard to see, but you might notice that this icon now is an exact replica of the text box template that I have. Here it is. So what I've done is I've double clicked, and now I have made an exact copy, a carbon copy of the markup in my tool chest. If I double click once again, now I can use the same properties of that tool. So here I'm going to make my text box. So it has slightly different data, but it has the same colors, it has the same font and the same font size, etc., etc. So really, really powerful how this tool chest can allow us to make markups from scratch, or if we have, for example, column numbers or identification numbers that we just want to multiply and place over and over and over again, we can simply double click and make exact copies of our markups. All right, let's actually go into measuring right now. I want to show you guys how we can move our text and really make our length dimension exactly the way we want to. So after we calibrate or choose a preset scale, in this case, I've already calibrated this page, we're going to use a length measurement. Let's make one right around here. We'll zoom in to make sure that we select the proper intersection. You can tell that it's the proper one because if I move my mouse slightly, you can see that the cursor icon is a little bit blue, it's filled in. But if I was to move the line itself, you can see that it's actually a bit hollow. So it's kind of similar to an endpoint or a nearest found in other CAD programs. All right, so I've made my dimension. And this dimension, I'm going to move it up. I'm going to use my shift key, hold the shift key while moving it. That way I keep it on this alignment and I keep it on the grid lines. Here's my measurement. Now, I want my measurement to look very standard. And what I'm used to seeing is the number of the measurement is above the line and the arrows themselves are not filled in. So while this measurement is highlighted, I'm going to go to properties. I'm going to change my arrows. So let's make them these nice little ticks. That'll save some ink, right? If there's 100 measurements on your page, you're going to save a little bit of ink each time by doing this. And now I want to move my text. So try not to select the grip when you do this. Hold down the shift key. And now I can click on the text itself and move it up. One thing you might notice is this extension line. I've never seen it before when I've worked for some engineering companies and architectural companies. So let's get rid of it. We're in properties still, and show caption leader line is right here. Now that we've unchecked it, the leader line is gone. I can move the text a little bit closer. And now this is a nicely formatted dimension. It looks very standard, very similar to the dimension that I've saved in my tool chest right here. All right, and that's the power of the shift key. The shift key activates a temporary ortho. So I can move my dimensions left, right, up, and down. And in this case, if I click the text itself, I can move my text without actually moving the entire dimension. Do you see how I clicked on that grip and moved that? So there's a couple of ways to do it. All right, very, very good. Let's go back to our PowerPoint and let's go back to our list. Okay, so we've gotten into markups and formatting styles. Let's look at our markups list, and I want to make an Excel summary report this time. I've already shown you guys how to make a hyperlinked one. Once again, I'll remind you all of how to do it. It's very easy. I've opened my markups list just by highlighting this line you can see right here. And you might also notice, before I continue on, that I have an extra little area right here. You can see that the ready text is right here, And if, for example, I wanted to make a text box, that text changes and says select region to place text box. So I've activated what's called the status bar. How you do that is you go to Tools, Toolbars, and Status Bar is right here. It's not activated by default, so I recommend that everybody turn it on. It's really nice because not only does it have some prompts that can guide you when you're doing a markup or a measurement or you're performing some kind of action, it will actually help you. But we can activate our grid and turn it on and off very easily. We can even snap to it. So if we want to use a grid, it's very, very simple. We also have some information here about our scale, sheet size, and an X and Y coordinate system. You'll see that it's changing as I move my mouse. So pretty cool stuff. That's the status bar. So once again, I'm going to activate my markups list. Here we are. Let's make it a little bit bigger so we can see more data. There we go. And you'll notice that in Review 2019, another small change is some of the icons have been modified. You might be used to seeing 3 lines and 3 dots just like this on the left side. And it turns out that the markups list and the summary reports themselves were sharing the same icon. So it caused a little bit of confusion. So Bluebeam decided, let's make a slightly different icon for summaries. So now it looks a bit like a clipboard. We can click on this, and here is our Excel summary. Now it's going to ask me about some information, which pages to include, etc. I can make sure that all of this is set to what I like. I not only want to include markups, but I also want to include totals, and this is very important. All right, now that we are ready, open file after creation is selected. Let's click OK, and let's see what happens. I want to show you guys how nice this table looks. All right, that is fine. Thank you, Excel. And there we are. It is a pretty sophisticated version of all of the information that was found in our markups list. So here we have all of those columns that you saw. They're all in Excel, and now I can modify them to my desire. So if you guys use Excel often, I recommend that you definitely export to Excel whenever you're ready. All right, excellent. And of course, once again, we can go to this summary report and make a PDF summary. And remember, we can always append and hyperlink the current PDF. This is the key to making a hyperlinked summary report. I'll make one quickly just to show you guys how cool it is. I love making these. All right, while it processes, what's going to happen is more sheets are going to appear in my thumbnails. I'm actually going to include all of my markups on sheets that are listed. And then each markup will have a little picture next to it. There we go. Let's go to our thumbnails and see all the sheets. There we go. That's a lot of sheets. It's a lot of markups. So let's go and click on this one right here. We can zoom in, and I don't have to manually locate Office 238 anymore. All I have to do is click on the image, and it takes me back to the floor plan sheet that it's located on, and Office 238 is right there. It zooms in on it really nicely. So this is the power of hyperlinked summary reports, and I'm glad that I showed you guys the Excel one as well. All right, and let's get rid of some of these reports. We don't need them all here right now. And then we will go on to our next topic. There we go. I'm using Control to highlight multiple sheets at once, and then right-clicking, and delete is right here. All right, excellent. So let's collapse our markups list, and let's go back to our PowerPoint. All right, let's go and look at Bluebeam Studio. I want to show you guys things in Studio. It's a really, really great part of Review, a big reason why people get Review in the first place. So Bluebeam Studio is found by clicking on this icon right here. Looks like a little house with a door. It's logging me in. Because I've signed in before, it remembers my credentials. If it's your first time, all you have to do is just simply sign in, make an account with Bluebeam, and you're good to go. You'll know that you're online when this icon right here shows 2 power plugs that are physically connected and a green dot right next to them. If I click on this once again, it'll ask me if I want to work offline. I'm going to show you guys the difference. So you can see that the power plugs are now not connected and the red dot is there. Let's connect one more time. All right, great. So firstly, we're going to go into Studio Projects. It's this icon right here. This is Studio Sessions. We'll look at that in a second. And let's go into our project. I've already made one. If you want to make your own, you can click on this plus button. You can make a new project or join an existing one. So let's go into projects. All right. The project dialog is opened. Let's expand this area right here. This is very important. This is how we can manage our project. We can collapse this for now. There we go. Let's make this a little bigger. Excellent. So now we can see all of the different files that I've uploaded to this project. We can categorize them here. We can add more files. We can add folders, so multiple files at once. There's no need to add individual files. And this actions area is very important. This allows us to synchronize our project. So if somebody just checked in and checked out of a file, for example, I'm going to do that right now. Let me X out of my floor plan. And I'm going to open this floor plan. Yes, we want to open it side by side so that we see all of our project information and the file itself side by side. So this file is not checked out. I'm simply looking at it, hence the lock icon next to the file. Let's right click and check it out. And as I said before, this action area and the sync area is so important because if somebody else checks in, checks out of a project, I necessarily won't see that until I synchronize my project. That way I'm connecting to the internet and then seeing all of the changes that were made all at once. So it basically updates the project. All right, now I've checked it out. The icon has changed. I can take my check mark and delete it, and I can make a brand new one. Let's make it the color green, my second favorite color. All right, a new check mark. Excellent, and let's check this back in. Right click and check in. We can make a comment here. So for example, we can call this revision 1 and check it in. Excellent. This is the check-in process. Now the icon is the lock icon is back for this file. So now anybody else that's invited to my project can, of course, check it out. I can see who's part of my project by going to my project settings. Here are some settings that I want to go over, and I didn't go over all of them before. There's actually some very important folder permissions that I want to show you guys. Not only can we see some general information right here, but under user access, we can see who's been invited and we can add more. So I've invited Alan and Jim to this project. Our permissions are pretty important as well. I'm only allowing them to share file links. Nobody can revoke checkout or send invitations. Only I can because I'm the project admin. And under folder permissions, this is very important. This option right here, read and write, is actually set to read by default. So you'll notice that if you make a new project and you invite people to it, they're not able to check in and check out files. And that's because the option read was set. So make sure that you check this, go to read/write. Delete is not necessary unless you do want to give more control to your users. In this case, read and write is fine by me. I don't want them to accidentally delete any of our files here. And now we're good to go. I can click apply and click OK. Now that's how I manage my projects. All right, let's go into sessions. First, we'll close out of this and this. Sessions is right here. Let's open this session that I created. The process is very similar. You can click that plus button and join one or make a new one. And just so you guys know, each session and project, let's go to settings and see it, has a 9-digit identification code. So you can invite people via email to your project or session, or they can join via the 9-digit code. Here we can see our settings. How I got there was I went to the drop down here and clicked on settings. We can see our attendees once again and their permissions. The permissions are very different here, and there's no folder permissions because the files are live. There's no need to have folder permissions because there's no check-in, check-out process. So these settings are great. Nobody has full control except for me. But even then, in sessions, I am not allowed to delete anybody's markup. I'll show you what I mean. Let's open the same file I've uploaded to both sessions and projects. And here we have some check marks. As you can tell, I have a thing for check marks. So we have this check mark, and here under properties, we can see that the author is myself. And that way I know that I can modify my own work. Any markup that I make is my own. This check mark we can see was made by Alan. So in this case, all my properties are grayed out. All my tools are kind of grayed out, so I can't really modify this at all. I can't quite modify it the way I'd like to because it is Alan's markup. And this one is made by Jim. So you can see that even as the project admin, there's a lot of accountability involved, and I'm not allowed to delete anybody's markup. It's very, very important. Let's delete mine for fun, and let's make a new one. That way we can see, I want you guys to see what it looks like when something is not uploaded to the session itself. Let's make it a nice green. Now, as I'm making this, I'm not going to let it go yet. I want you guys to notice that there's going to be a small red icon next to this check. It's going to disappear very quickly. And before I let this markup go, I'll explain what it means so you guys can understand what I'm trying to show you. This red icon is showing that the markup has not been uploaded to the cloud yet. As soon as it disappears, now I know for certain that my markup is visible to all attendees in the session. So I'm going to let go, get ready to look for that red icon. There it is, and there it goes. So now you can see that it took about 1 or 2 seconds for my markup to be uploaded to the session. That's how fast Session is. Sessions is so fast, everybody can use it at the same time, multiple users all at once. Really, really a special tool. All right, and there we go. We can actually see that some changes are being made to the attendees because I made a change. And our record list is updating as well. Here, you can even see that I've reconnected to the project and I added the highlight as well. Very, very useful stuff. And we can see a record of every single thing done in our records list. And there's the 3 dots and 3 lines, just like we saw before right here for the markups. So they haven't changed this report, the summary report icon yet, but that's okay. We understand what it means. And this is where we can make a report of our entire session. It's going to look very similar. I'm actually going to show you guys how it looks right now. We can include all this. This is all fine. Excellent. Let's make it portrait. There we go. And let's click OK. It's going to make a brand new file. Why don't we save it right there? And there it is. So our session report, let's go to the top, looks a little different from a regular markup report, but it has all the information we need to see what time and date any change was made. So there's tons of accountability in Studio Sessions. All right, excellent. We have covered that. Very good. Let's go back to our PowerPoint and see what's next. First, I'll open our floor plan. All right, let's look at some signatures, stamps, and certifications. I believe I covered this last time, but I want to go over it again because there's a tough distinction to make between what is certifying a document compared to what is assigning a document. Here we can go to our tools, signature is right here, and we can sign a document. So first we'll do signing, and then we can look at certifying. Now my cursor has changed. I can place a signature anywhere I'd like. I'm going to place it right here, make a nice little box. There we go. And my digital ID is already ready. I've already made a digital ID. If I wanted to make a new one, I can click on new. If this is your first time making a signature, you're going to see this dialog, and you have 3 options. You can browse online for an ID. If you are using a certain website with your municipality, such as IDEN, I believe is one of them, then you can do it that way. You can create a digital ID, which is what I've done. And this is a Bluebeam digital ID, so this works with Bluebeam. It's still pretty official, but some municipalities don't accept it. And you can create an ID in the Windows Certificate Store if you're going to use that store to do so. All you need is your name and email. You don't need the organizational unit and name. Set a password, and you're ready. Now, in order to use my ID, I have to put in my password. So nobody can use my signature unless they know my password, which is really nice. Let's put in my password. Log in, and you'll notice that now the appearance of the signature is populated. So now I know that I'm ready to rumble. Under signature type, this is where some of the distinctions come in, and this is where people get a little bit confused. I'm going to choose digital signature, and notice that the permitted changes after certifying is now grayed out, and I am not doing document certification. What this means is I'm merely signing my document, and that's it. There's no certifying, and if anybody makes any changes, the signature becomes invalid. I can still choose options like the reason that I'm signing, etc., etc. I can go to my appearance and edit it. Here, I can either keep my name the way it is right now and make a default signature, or if I was an engineer, I could go to File, and I could find my PE license or my stamp, and I could use it, and I can actually turn my stamp into a signature. There's a separate area for stamps, but if you use that area, the stamp is merely a markup. It's just a stamp. But in this case, this is the way to include a stamp in your signature so that it becomes official. I can choose what information I want to be in my signature, lots of other information, how large it is by the font size, and when I'm ready, I can click OK. In this case, I'm not going to click OK because it'll just make a brand new file. The signature will be there, and the old file will not have a signature. In this case, I don't want to do that, so we are good to go. Now, before I close out of this dialog, I want to show you guys document certification. Now, I'm allowed to choose from one of 3 criteria. If I certify this document, nobody will be allowed to change anything. So with a signature, people can still make modifications and invalidate the signature. But if I do document certification combined with a signature, there will be a signature on the document and nobody will be allowed to make markups. Nobody can delete anything. So pretty cool stuff. If I had an application form, I could allow people to fill in the forms, but they can't really move or modify anything else. Markups, filling forms, and digital signatures is another option if I want people to make some markups on my file. And it's still signed and it's still certified. So pretty cool stuff. So let's get out of this. I'm going to show you guys a couple more things. We're going to go to Tools, Signature, and their certified document. And you might notice that it looks very similar to the signature dialog. That's because it is basically the signature dialog. The difference is you can only certify and there's no signature. So when you certify in this manner, you're essentially certifying in the background. It becomes a background process. The file itself is certified. All of the different settings are still there, but there's no physical signature on the document. So nobody really knows that it's certified until they try to make some additions to it, for example. All right, good, good, good. And now I'm going to show you guys something really cool. This signature field is a bit odd because right now I'm right-clicking and nothing's happening. If I do a regular click, I can basically apply my signature to it. So the question is, how do we delete this signature field? It seems very difficult to do so. Well, I'll show you. Under Tools, there's a signature area, a form area, and form is very important. This is how we can turn our PDF into an application with text boxes, radio buttons, checkboxes, all the typical things you've seen in online applications before. Here is the option, digital signature, and this essentially allows my cursor to change. I can make a new signature if I wanted to, but right now, while I have this selected, you'll notice that my mouse looks a little bit different when I mouse over the signature itself. It turns into the mouse with the 4 cardinal directions next to it. I can right-click on this, and now I can delete it. And that's how you delete a digital signature that is empty and you don't want it to be on the page anymore. It seemed a bit hard to find, but it's all there under Tools and Form. All right, and let's look at stamps. We did look at signature certification. So under the Tools and Stamp area, this is where we find our stamps. One of my favorite ones is the seal that Bluebeam comes with. There's a couple of ways to place this. If I click and hold, I can choose the size of my seal. But if I just simply click without holding, this is the actual size of the seal now. So I know for sure that this is the size that I saved it as when I made the seal. Of course, this was made by Bluebeam, so I didn't make it. Here we can see that it's automatically populated the date within the seal, and it took today's date from the computer. It has 2 lines, and we can always take the seal and modify it to our needs. We can put in our PE license if we're engineers, etc., etc. All right, very, very good. So I believe that we've covered that topic. Let's look at security and flattening pretty quickly, and then I'm going to show you guys Bluebeam drawings and explain what Bluebeam's drawings is, because it's a little bit confusing at first. So security is pretty simple. We go to Document, and security is right here in the middle. Here we can allow or not allow certain things in this document. For example, if I was giving this document to one of my clients, and I didn't want them to modify my markups that I made. I want them to make markups, so I can allow adding markups right here. But if I don't want them to touch my markups, then I can go into change permissions, and I can start messing with that. I can also require a password to open the document. Pretty cool stuff. All right, and of course we can go to our general tab right here, see all kinds of information about our file, the fonts, and some custom settings right here, and so on and so forth. All right, and flattening we already covered. Once again, you go to Document. Here's the Flatten dialog box, very different from right-clicking and flattening. So remember, try to use this dialog box as often as possible, and try to avoid just clicking on a markup and flattening it this way. Also, if you have the shortcuts available, you can see that I actually have 2 versions of flatten because these groups of shortcuts come with them. And luckily, these are not the simple flatten tool, they're the flatten dialog. It's very, very important to know that distinction. All right, good. I believe that we are ready to look at Bluebeam drawings. This will be fun. So Bluebeam drawings is essentially an online viewer of drawings. Let's go into it now. I'm going to go into my internet really quickly, and I'm going to click on Bluebeam drawings. To get here, all you have to do is type in portal.bluebeam.com. So it's portal.bluebeam.com. Here is the Bluebeam gateway. And this allows us to log in, and once we're in the gateway, we can manage our drawings. And from the gateway, we can also access the drawings as well. So here's Bluebeam drawings. I've already logged into it, so it's remembered. And we can see that we have some projects. Now, these aren't going to be here initially. You actually have to publish your project. So once you publish it, then it's going to be visible in drawings. You publish it from within Revu. And let's go into this project that we were just in before. Only projects can be published, not sessions, because projects have individual files, while sessions is basically a cloud-based collaboration tool. So projects is more suited for drawings. You can see that under published, I have all 4 of my documents here. And let's look at some of these buttons right here. If we click on the checkbox right here, or the check button, you'll notice that we have some options here: edit, delete, and download, and deselect. Deselect just simply gets rid of that check. We can just click it again to deselect it if we wanted to. So this checkbox basically allows us to edit a couple of things. Now, when you see the edit button, as I said before, you cannot modify or make any markups on any files within drawings. So if I click on edit, all I can really do is change some of the names of my drawings, the drawing number. I can assign it a discipline if I'd like, and so on and so forth. Very, very basic properties, but no markups are really visible here. Now, once again, if I also click on this pen tool, the same exact edit comes up. So there's a couple of ways of accessing that edit dialog right here. So let's look at this drawing. This is the drawing that I think you guys are familiar with. We've been looking at it the entire presentation. Here it is. As you can see, I can zoom in and zoom out of it. I can look at my drawing, but I do not have any options to modify it. So Bluebeam Drawings is a really great viewer. You can view this in your browser. There's actually a Bluebeam Drawings app for cell phones, so you guys can download that and start using that as well. You can use it on your tablets and iPads, and that way you can view your drawings on the field, and it's quite a useful tool for that. All right, excellent. Let's go back. All right, and so this is essentially Bluebeam Drawings. And of course, there's other options here. We can set some drawings for review. For example, we have a drawing log so we can see exactly when a drawing was uploaded and the date, et cetera, et cetera. We have a couple of settings as well, but it's basically more it's a viewer, so the settings aren't too complicated. There we go. We can even edit our disciplines and add custom disciplines. Pretty cool stuff. And what's nice is we have this invite button right here to invite all of our colleagues to drawings. So this is a really safe way to show documents to your clients without actually giving them the document. So Bluebeam Drawings is quite useful for that. All right, so that was Bluebeam Drawings. Let's go back into review. And I believe that we've covered everything. We do have some time left for the presentation. So let's see, I believe that we can go over some fun little tips and tricks for Bluebeam. Let's see what we can do here. So under the measurements area, there is something that I do want to show you guys. I haven't shown this yet. This is a really, really important quality of life tool, the viewports area. So what will happen is you'll make a file from CAD. Let's say you're using AutoCAD, and you made it in paper space and it has a viewport because you're taking your model space information and putting it in paper space. Bluebeam Revu detects viewports. So what you'll notice is if you open a file that has a viewport, Bluebeam will actually prompt you. I'm actually going to do it right now because I have a good file to use. I have a client that had an issue, and I'm going to show you guys how we fixed it. So I'm going to open that. I believe I know exactly where it is. Yep, under troubleshooting, Karina. There it is. All right. So you'll see that when you open the document for the first time, this prompt comes up. This document contains untitled viewports. Most people say no because they don't really read this. They just go through the dialogue. That's it. But it's important to know what this means. This is one way to remove your viewports. Let's say that I don't show this message again, or I click on no. So I have a viewport here. Why are viewports so problematic? Well, right now, if I wanted to make a calibration or a measurement, I'm not quite able to. So this is a vector document. The difference between vector and raster is an image that was scanned, and vector actually contains point data and is usually made from some kind of CAD program. So I can tell this is a vector drawing because my snaps are snapping properly. The intersections are being found, all the lines are being found. This box is telling me that it's finding it. So let's calibrate and see what happens. We're going to calibrate from here to there. I actually did not pay attention to what that dimension is. It's 8 feet. Let's do that one more time. There we go. 8 feet. Okay. And we're going to say that this is 8 feet in the dialog box. The precision is fine. And that is pretty close. All right. Let's do apply scale and see what happens. So I'm going to test my calibration by making a length measurement. And there we go. This is the viewport interfering. As soon as I click on length or any other measurement tool, you'll notice that my screen is kind of blue. And that's because I have actually, the viewport is on top of my data. So actually, even though it says 8 feet there, oh, it actually came out correctly. Usually when you make a length measurement after doing this, the measurement does not work. I believe that they might have fixed this with Bluebeam 2019. So that's a great quality of life feature. Another new feature. You learn something new every day. So the viewport can sometimes get in the way. And if we go under measurements right here, we can see that we have 2 untitled viewports. When I click on them, let's zoom extents. Now I can see exactly where they are. Here's the first one, and the second one is the entire title block. So in this case, we definitely want to delete these viewports. All we have to do is click on the trash can right here, clear all from page or from document. Let's just do from page. And there we go. Our viewports are gone. There's no need to have them within review. They just get in the way. And so that's the manual way of getting rid of viewports. And make sure that whenever you open a file that you just made from a CAD program, that you notice that dialog. And then Revu will automatically get rid of them for you. All right. I'm so glad that that client contacted me about that. Good, good. I believe that we've covered all of the topics today. Since we do have about 5 more minutes, I'm going to show you guys a new custom column I made. I made some custom columns, or a custom column in the last presentation. So let's go to our markups list, columns, and manage columns right here. Then we can go to custom columns. And here I actually have 2 new columns that I made. This one is an area total column. Very, very simple. I'm going to click on modify. Here we can see that any area is going to be added to the other areas automatically, and that way we'll get more totals. And I'm going to include this in totals as well. So to see this in action, we can see that we have the area column and the area total one right here. And so this is showing us the different areas that are found within different groupings. For example, all of these areas here, here's the total amount of area addition for the flooring. They're grouped by the subject. So flooring has its own set of area. All of my markups have their own area. I only have 2 markups with an area, of course, and so on and so forth. So this is a really great column. Let's go back to columns, manage columns. And we have the responses one. I just made this one very recently. Here, I've chosen to include the responses column. It is a text type, not a formula or a choice. It is a multi-line. If I wanted to, I could have it single line, but multi-line works because now you can have paragraphs in here instead of just a single line. And this is some default text right here. So what this means is that when I make a markup, it will automatically have a response next to it. And individually, I can click on my markups and modify that. Let's make sure that that column is turned on. And as you can see, responses is turned off. Now it's on. There we go. Here's that test text. Now I'm going to click on this markup right here, go to properties, and if I scroll all the way near the bottom, we actually have, remember that custom responsibility column that we made? Here it is again, but now we have the area total and the responses right here. So now I can modify this text for this markup, deselect it, and there it is. This text is now here. Excellent. So this is another great column. There's so much power within the custom columns area for Revu. So make sure that you guys go online and find other columns that people have made. You can definitely recreate the columns that I've made right here, and I think they'll become quite useful for everybody. All right, we've covered a lot of ground today, and I think this is a good place to go and talk about some questions. So does anybody have any questions for us? I'll let you handle this one, Raquel.
So, yep, Ari, thank you so much for a great presentation. There is some questions, yes, online, and keep them coming, guys. Keep entering your questions on the question box. So the first question is, if you flatten with tool dialog, I'm assuming anyone can unflatten, which would make your flattened object able to be edited by anyone?
Right. So let's go back to that dialog, and I think I know exactly what you're talking about. So we go to document and flatten. And yes, if the option allow markup recovery, in parentheses unflatten, is checked, then yes, your flatten is semi-temporary and anybody can unflatten it and modify your markups. If you truly want to flatten something and submit it to somebody and you don't want them to ever modify it ever again, uncheck allow markup recovery and then flatten. And this is very similar to clicking on a markup, right-clicking and clicking on flatten as well, because it's basically not allowing an unflatten option either. So those are the 2 ways to flatten. You can allow markup recovery or disallow it. So it's very important to set that on and off depending on what you're trying to accomplish.
Excellent. Okay. So the next question is, what's the difference between studio sessions and studio projects?
Good question. All right. So let's go back to Studio. So Studio Projects uses a check-in, check-out system. Only one person can access the project at once. So right now, I can view a PDF from the project. Let's get out of the example floor plan. Don't save. And I'm viewing it right now. So anybody can view it if they're part of the project. You can have your entire, all of your colleagues viewing your PDF at the same time, but only one person can check it out at once. And you'll notice that if you're viewing the project at the same time, if somebody else checks it out, you'll see a different icon here. It's not going to be the lock symbol. It's not going to be the regular PDF symbol. It's actually going to be a little person. And that means that somebody else has checked out the file and you're not allowed to work on it yet. they have to check it back in, and then you can work on it. In sessions, there's no check-in, check-out process. Instead, sessions is great because you can basically just go into a file, start working on it. At the same time, people can start placing markups, and you'll see that people are placing them. I was teaching a course, and I showed this feature to everybody for the first time. Everybody got so excited that we basically started making markups everywhere, and it became like a little rainbow. So it was quite fun. And they got a kick out of that one. So yeah, that's the difference. Sessions allows you to work at the same time with people on the same PDF. You know, right now, if we had Alan and Jim on, we could see that they could actually make markups while I was talking. In this case, they're offline. We're all busy, right? So yeah, that's the difference. If you want me to clarify further, I can always talk to you guys afterwards.
It sounds like he is happy. The next question I have is a very interesting one. Is how do I delete a signature field that isn't signed? Right-click, if I right-click, doesn't work.
Right. I did go over that. Let's look at that one more time, because at first it's a bit daunting. We're going to open our example floor plan. Let's go and make a signature. And let's say that I just made the box here, and I realized, oh, I don't want to sign yet. I have to make another change. So I'm going to click cancel. Even if I said cancel, the box is still here. So as you said in the question, you can't right-click on the signature. Right now, I'm trying to right-click. Nothing's happening. And if I click, normal click, it prompts me to sign once again. All I have to do now is go to the Tools dropdown, go to Form, and this is where we can have all of our form options. And if I click on Digital Signature, now I can mouse over it, right-click, and delete it. So as long as you go to Forms first, then you're good to go.
All right, thank you. Can I apply, this is another question, can I apply a scale to multiple PDFs at the same time?
Yes, I will show you guys how to do that. Great question. So we can go to our thumbnails area right here, and we can see that this floor plan has a scale set to it. Let's say I wanted to set the scale to my 8.5 by 11 pages. Usually I wouldn't do that, but let's say that I wanted to. All I have to do is make sure that I calibrate, and then this button, Apply to Page Range, is right here. When I click on it, I can choose my scale once again, whether it's preset or custom. So let's say I like the scale like this, and I want it to be preset. I can now choose my page range. Right now it's at current, so only the first page. I can click on the drop down. All pages is right here. And there we go. I can apply the scale to all pages if I wanted to. In this case, I'm not going to because these don't require a scale. But that's how you do it.
All right, very easy. Okay, let's see. Keep it coming, guys. Keep coming the questions. There's another question here. Let me scroll down. It says, can I customize my keyboard shortcuts? If so, how can I do that?
Yes. So keyboard shortcuts, we went over it a little bit, but let me show you exactly how to customize them. We go to our review dropdown. Here's keyboard shortcuts. And here, all we have to do is, let's say that the arc one, I wanted to change it. So I can click within here, and it looks like the reassign button is grayed out. Let's see if there's a way to change that. I think I can merely just type in something different here. Let's type in, let's see, let's do Shift A. It's probably something else. Actually, as you can see, when I pressed Shift, it actually added it to the shortcut dialog right here. That's quite fast. Just in case, let's restore defaults. There we go. And so if I click in here and let's see, I do Shift A, there we go. Now it's telling me that there's an error. Shift A is currently assigned to apply redactions, which is fine. Let's say that I don't need to use apply redactions ever. It's not part of my discipline or workflow. So I can replace it. If I click on reassign, now the reassign button is not grayed out anymore. Now I can remove the previous shortcut and I can change my shortcut to whatever I'd like. So this is how you customize your shortcuts. So you could even change it to A, for example, and the arrow could be something else.
All right, sounds good. Okay, let me see this other one. Can I put more than one scale on one PDF for details, for more details?
So that is a good question. It's a bit tough to do. There's a workaround instead. I think what you're trying to accomplish is if you have a floor plan here, and let's say that we had a detail here, and this detail was set to a different scale, of course, because if I was set to the same scale, it would be too small. You can't set it to individual portions of a page. So I can't, for example, I'll just make a box to highlight this. I can't apply a scale just to this area. But what I can do is, a really good workaround and a good workflow as well, is I can change my scale very fast. So let's say that I know that this sheet is a certain preset scale and my detail is for example, 1/32 of an inch equals a foot, or even larger, 1 inch equals a foot. So I can just simply change my scale and start working on the detail. When I'm finished, I can change my scale back and then work on the actual PDF. So there isn't really a need to have a separate scale for certain parts of your PDF. Instead, just change your scale whenever you're ready, and you can start working in that scale for that detail.
Very good. I don't see any more questions though, so that was excellent. Thank you so much, guys, for sending all those questions. Thank you, Ari, for responding and for your great presentation. We are ready to wrap up then. Thank you, everybody, for being with us today. I hope that this has been beneficial for you. We do want to remind you that 2019 is out. If you do have maintenance, you can upgrade to 2019 for free because you're entitled to get it. You just have to upgrade your serial number. If you don't have maintenance and then contact us, you might be able to add maintenance to your license, which is less expensive, or if you don't qualify to do that, then you can upgrade to the latest version. We also want to let you know good news. Our blog is live, so you can get a lot of information from different videos that we have posted there, and there on the screen is the link to visit our blog. So whenever you have a chance, you can go there for information. We also have Bluebeam Revu training in different ways. We have the essentials, the basic, and the advanced or customized training. So contact us for more information if you do need training for yourself or for your group. We'll be more than happy to have you over. Or we can also go to your site. Other than that, check out the website for a free 30 days trial if you don't have the program, or if you have colleagues that need to have a 30 days trial to try it. And if you have any other questions, just send us an email to info@ddscat.com. Call us. You can also call us at our number. Thank you so much for having us, and you have a great day.
Thank you. Take care, everyone.